Good morning. It's Monday morning. It's a little bit early, so we're going to wait a minute or so before we start, but getting ready for gentle yoga. So take your time. It's okay. I still have one person coming too, but just take your time. And those of you at home, if anybody's out there and you can tell me if the sound is okay, please let me know. I will kind of speak a little louder once class starts, so I find that seems to be necessary, even with a microphone. So at home, if you need a blanket, grab a blanket for support. If you want to sit up in a chair, by all means do. I think I'm going to start this morning on a blanket, but feel free to sit up on a chair if that's better for you. Good morning. So just take another minute at home, get things there available if you need your blocks, blankets. I don't plan to use a strap today, but if anybody wants to grab a strap, by all means do. But just take your time. Start to ease in. Get your legs in a comfortable way for your hips. So if you need to stretch your legs out, do, or you can sit cross-legged. And just close your eyes. Shift around a little bit if you can. Just shifting a little bit side to side. Let yourself just feel your sitting bones there, the surface you're sitting on. Feel free to use support underneath your knees if you're sitting cross-legged and you feel any undue uncomfortable pressure. And then just lengthen up through the crown of your head as you close your eyes gently now. And accept your breaths coming in and going out through your nose. So letting yourself feel the breath coming gently in to rise and expand your belly. And on your next exhale, let your chin come down towards your chest. Release your head forward. Really let go here. Feel the weight of your head releasing now, the back of the neck, maybe down to between your shoulder blades on your back. And let your next inhale rise your head on back up. And as you exhale, tilt your head to the right ear towards your right shoulder. Just letting yourself release now through the left side of your neck there. And on your next exhale, turn your chin down. So you look down towards the ground, release there. Maybe a little bit different release, maybe feeling it again into the upper back. And on your next inhale, turn your head again to look forward. So your right back ear towards your shoulder there. And then we'll inhale, rise the head on back up. And we'll exhale, left ear towards the left shoulder. Stay here for a couple of breaths. Really feel that right shoulder releasing down. And on your next exhale, turn again to look down so that your chin comes down towards your shoulder. And then we'll turn again to bring our face forward. And we'll rise all the way back up again. Head up on top again, releasing our arms out beside us. Let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And let our exhale bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. And let's reverse. Inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down. And then letting your hands come behind you. So if you're in your chair, you can drape over the back of your chair. You can have fingertips on the floor if you're on the floor, or go flat to your hands. Just open up here. Draw the chest forward. Maybe rise your chin a little bit if it's okay for your neck. And then we'll come on back up to the top. Float the arms out now a little bit higher and let your hands circle around. So circling the hands in one direction and then reversing and going the other. And then bring your hands on forward of your shoulders. Clasp your hands together here now. And then bend your elbows. Turn your palms out away from your chest and press out into the heels of your hands. Just enjoy. It's starting to float the arms up a little bit at a time, right? So take your time. And some people need to stop, like before you get your hands overhead. So if your shoulders tell you to stop, let yourself stay wherever you can be here. Enjoy feeling equal through the sides of your body. And then let your hands go over to the left just a little bit. So you come a little deeper into the right side stretch there. Pressing up into the heel of your hand, reaching your right sitting bone down. And then we'll come back up to the top, and we're going to go the other way. So again, pressing into the heel of that hand up there. Feel the left sitting bone drawing down. And then we'll release and come back up. Bring your hands down now. It's still clasped right behind your head. Press the back of your head gently into your hands, but feel your chin parallel to the floor. Feel that sense of space in the back of the throat as you lengthen up through the top of your head. And then we'll release. Let the arms come on down. Flex your feet. If you're cross-legged, feel the outside edges of your feet pressing down into the ground. If you're on the chair, push into your feet a little bit. And if your legs are long, feel your heels on the floor. And just come forward a little bit. Feel that length through the spine. Doesn't need to be far. You don't want to keep that length of the back. Let yourself release the back of your neck. Let go of your jaw. And then we'll rise on back up. If you are cross-legged, we are going to switch the cross of the legs. You can stretch them out if you need to before you bring that other leg in front. And then again, shift a little bit side to side. No matter how you're sitting, just let yourself shift just a little bit. Feel one sit bone at a time there on the surface you're sitting on. And then release and come on back into center. Let your arms come on out beside you, inhaling here. And on the exhale, we're going to twist to our left. Bring your right hand around, either towards your left knee or maybe to the midline of the body. Letting yourself come on around into a twist here. Lengthening upward, sit bones drawing down. Whatever part of your feet are on the floor, gently press down into your feet. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we'll come on back around through center and all the way into the other direction. Waking up the spine here. Again, feel your feet in the floor. Lengthen up the back of the throat and neck. Good. One more inhale. And on the exhale, use your belly to bring you on back around into center. Arms on out beside us again. Let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. And then we'll reverse and inhale the hands right on up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down. And now, if you're on the floor, bring your feet to the floor. Separate your feet. If you're in your chair, separate your feet wider. And then just think about coming forward a little bit. So your knees are bent, and you can still be up on your heels. If it's too much on your feet to reach your feet to the floor, you can be up kind of on your heels if you're on the floor. But think about coming forward between your legs with a nice long back, just to let yourself open up a little bit more there. In the hips, in the inner thighs. If it bothers your back, don't go so far, right? You go for where you can go. Let your head release forward if you can. And then we'll slowly bring ourselves on back up And we're going to come on around towards our hands and knees from here. So do whatever you need as you get ready to come on around. Whether you use your chair underneath your hands, or maybe you want your hands on the floor. Remember, if your wrists bother you, there are all kinds of things you can do. You can come on to fists. That gets you out of the wrist. You can put your hands on a blanket. You can even come down onto like your forearms on a surface, like a coffee table or something at home that gives you support, so that you're not into your wrists. So if your wrists bother you, take care of them. Get yourself with your feet or your knees right underneath your hips. And let's start to move through our spine, letting yourself draw with your exhale into your cat pose. And on your inhale, sending your tailbone back and up, moving through into your cow. So just mindfully, with your breath, let your body just flow through this easy spinal movement, very natural feeling. So try to feel like you're not forcing it at all. It's just very easy to feel the breath, allowing the spine to move through these curves. And then finish the one you're on. We'll come on back to more neutral spine so that you can just reach back into your tailbone a little bit here. And then just shift your hips a little side to side. And when your hips go to the left, let your head and your shoulders go to the right. So as your hips shift a little bit, just let the upper body respond by going the opposite way the hips are going. Just real easily. And then come on back in to center. And we're going to bring our left foot forward and our right foot back and come on into a lunge here. So whether you use the chair or blocks underneath your hands, you can be the height that feels good for you. Remember, blocks have 3 heights, the lowest, the middle, the highest. You can pick. You can have your hands to the floor. You can use a higher support. And just enjoy. Draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Press the feet gently away from each other here. Remember, you want to be like you're on narrow railroad tracks. You don't want to be like on a tightrope. You want your hips to feel more natural there. And then we're going to switch and go to the other side with the right foot coming forward and the left foot back. Just being mindful again about getting those feet a little apart like you're on those narrow railroad tracks. Reach back through the inner left heel and draw your shoulders down. Imagine you're trying to make your mat longer with your feet and zip up the belly. Good. We're going to switch again and bring that left foot forward. So if you feel like rising your left hand or forearm up to your thigh, you can. So if you want a little bit more into the legs and the hips, you can even bring both hands up if you choose. Or you can keep both hands down. It's up to you. And we're going to switch again. So again, once you've gotten yourself into the lunge where you're comfortable there, if the idea of letting that right hand or forearm come up to your thigh, you can. You can let it rise up. You can think of both hands coming up to above your knee there if you want to get even a little more. And then we'll come on back down. We're going to step forward into standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart, parallel. Take time to look at your feet and make sure that you're not turning one or both of the toes out quite a bit, trying to get that sense of the outer edges of your feet being parallel. And then just easily come into your breath, whatever support you need. Elbows above the knees, hands on the chair or the blocks. Nice, easy, full, deep breaths. See if you can let your head just move a little bit. Turn your head side to side. Just letting yourself enjoy the weight of your head. And then we'll come on back into center, bend our knees, bring our hands to our hips. We're going to rise on up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, as our hands come down, let the top of your head release upward. Actually shift a little to the balls of the feet so that you feel your weight shift a little forward. And then let your weight shift a little more to your heels, not so much to fall over. And then come back into center and see if you can feel very equal now between the balls of the feet, your heels. You're not feeling like you're back into the heels, but you're not forward so that you feel like there's no weight there in your heels. Bring your gaze on forward and out. Let yourself find your Tadasana, your mountain pose. Feet equal in the floor. Imagine as you draw your thighs gently upward that your hips are just as equal and your shoulders feel like they're right there stacked up over your hips. And then as we unfold our arms on down beside us, we'll inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, lower your left arm down. Let yourself reach up through the right side of the body and come over into side stretch. Now, if you can, let your left palm be on the outside of your left leg. Slide it down just a little farther if you can. Really feel the feet in the floor here. And then we'll rise on back up. We're going to lower the right arm down and let the left arm come up. Let that right palm be on your thigh, the outside of your thigh there, and then slide that right palm down. So you're really coming a little deeper into that left side. And really feel that left foot into the floor here now. One more breath into the left ribs. And then we'll rise back up. Let's inhale. Both arms now are going to come all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, we're going to bend the knees and come forward into our standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find a long, flat back. Wherever you want your hands, on your blocks, on your shins, on the chair. And we'll step the right foot back and come into lunge. Press your feet away from each other. Draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Inhale. And exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So, hands can be on blocks any height in your down dog. You know, if they're in the highest height, you'll probably have your heels on the floor. If you're down a little bit lower on the blocks, you might step back and have your heels hovering. If your hands are on the floor, you're more like an upside down V with your heels hovering off the mat there. And let your next inhale carry you forward to your plank. And you can put your forearms down if your wrists are bothering you. You can put your knees down if it feels like too much to keep your knees up. Nice and strong. Reach your sit bones back down towards your heels, towards your knees if your knees are down. Elbows hug a little bit inward. Bend your elbows a tiny little bit. And then we'll come on back into down dog. Reaching back equally through the sitting bones. And we'll bring the right foot forward to come into lunge, and you can put your left knee down if you need to get that foot through. And then we'll come all the way back into our standing forward bend. Again, get your feet, check them out if you need, look at your feet, toes are facing forward, trying to get pretty parallel here with your feet. And then just release your hands or your arms to wherever feels good for you. If holding your elbows feels like a huge relief to you, then you can let your hands release to your elbows. You can put your elbows above your knees if you know your back needs that. Full deep breaths. So really watching your breaths all the way through. Letting your inhales and your exhales start to even out very easily and naturally. And we'll bring our hands back up to our hips, bend our knees, press into our feet, and rise on up. We're going to inhale the arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. And now bringing your hands behind you, clasp your hands for a second here. Squeeze your palms together. right? So elbows can really bend, really feel your biceps a little bit there. And then slide your hands over to the right. You may even be able to just fold that left forearm onto your low back. And then see if you can squeeze the right palm into the left again. Really feeling that sense of engagement again, up into the biceps and the shoulders. And then bring the hands on back down, and we're going to go the other way. So letting the hands come over to the left, squeezing, really squeezing that left palm into the right, letting yourself release there. And then we'll come on back into center. Now, if you can, when you inhale, let the hands come off the back a little. And when you exhale, let them come back down. And you don't have to have your palms together for this. Just interlacing the fingers, inhaling the hands away, and exhaling, bringing them back. And then one more time, inhaling, letting the arms come away. And on the exhale, bringing them back. Now this next time, inhaling again, hands away. And on the exhale, go ahead and fold forward. Now, you can put your hands back on your back if you need to. You can stay parallel to the floor. You can fold forward over your legs if you choose, letting your arms come even farther off your back. That's up to you and your shoulders. One more breath. And then we'll release our arms on down. Let your next inhale help you find a nice long back. And we'll step the left foot back to come into lunge this time. Press those feet away from each other now. Draw your shoulders down. Inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So back into that down dog. Take your time. Walk if you want to in your dog. Remember, hands can be the height that you feel good to be. And on the next inhale, we'll come on out to that plank again, nice and strong. Engage your belly. See if you can walk a little bit in your plank here. Engage the belly and let one knee at a time bend a little bit if you're up in your full plank. Good. And then come back to plank. We're going to make our way back into down dog. And we'll bring the left foot forward to find lunge here. So again, you can put the right knee down if you need to. Whatever you need to do to get back to that lunge. And then we'll step all the way back into our Uttanasana, standing forward bend. And just breathe. See if you can be with your breath. So inhaling and exhaling fully and deeply. Maybe even see if your exhales can get just a little bit longer than your inhales, but not forcing it. Let go through your face. Let go of the jaw. Even imagine relaxing your tongue. And we'll bend our knees here, bring our hands to our hips. We're going to rise straight on up and inhale the arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. Let's inhale the hands right up through the midline. Keep them together. See if you can bend your elbows. Let your hands come to where they're right at the top of the back of your head. And then just lift the chin up a little bit. Feel the back of the head coming into your hands and your elbows rise up. Now imagine your inner thighs reaching back behind you. Feel your feet in the floor. One more inhale. And on the exhale, extend the arms back up long again. One more inhale up the front of the body. And on the exhale, fold forward from the hips, coming into that standing forward bend. Let your next inhale lengthen out your spine. And we're going to walk into down dog. So walking yourself back, whatever you like to be, whatever level you like to be with your hands. Good. And on the next inhale, we'll come on out to plank. Now you can add a back bend or not. You can stay in plank. You can bend your elbows, do little push-ups. You can come down to the floor, come up into a little sphinx on your forearms or a cobra, or come into your up dog. And then we'll make our way back again into downward facing dog pose. Take your time, walk a little bit if you need. And then again, next inhale, bringing us out to that plank, optional back bends. If you decide to do one, you choose. You can go to the floor if you'd rather and get into that Sphinx on your forearms. You can come through for a cobra or an up dog. And then we'll make our way back again into downward facing dog pose. And this time, let's bring our right foot forward to come into lunge. And then we'll come all the way back into our standing forward bend. And be with your breaths here. Easy, full, deep breaths. Really. And on the exhale, bring our hands right down together in front of our hearts. Finding your mountain pose here now. Take your time, get your feet underneath you. Spread your fingers nice and wide. Let your gaze come on forward. And then just be right there, equal between your feet. Again, feeling the hips coming over the ankles, the shoulders over the hips. Let yourself enjoy. Spread your fingers out a little bit. Feel that connection of the hands. Good. And then we'll unfold our arms on down beside us and shake out a little bit, move around. If you need to walk around a little bit, do. And we're going to come into Warrior One first. So if you need your chair, you might want to turn it. You might not. It depends on you. Have your blocks handy at the front of your mat. And we're going to step our right foot back and come on into Warrior One with our shoulders around square. If you can, see if you can, as you get yourself forward, turn your palms forward, right? So get yourself to where you have your hands a little forward of your shoulders. The palms are forward. And you're just releasing, almost like the pinkies want to swing a little more forward. Release there. Imagine this relaxing totally all the way into the tops of the shoulders here. Feel the feet equal on the floor. Good. And then we'll rise the arms on up into a wide V. Let the pinkies turn a little towards each other even more. Bring your gaze up a little bit if you can. Feel that uplift in the front of the body. Now really feel that right back foot in the floor. Arches of both feet lifting up. Coming into that openness in your Warrior One, that openness through the front of the body. One more breath. And then we'll release our arms on down. Bring your hands behind you. Clasp your hands. Straighten your front knee out. Now both knees are straight. Draw that right hip pointer bone around if you can. And now just come a little tiny bit forward, a couple of inches. Feel your thighs and then stop. Feel your thighs engaging upward. So it's like you're creating space in your knees. Now zip up your belly. Now if you want to go farther with your hands behind you like this, you can go. You can let yourself release forward. You can go all the way if you want over that front leg. One more breath. And then go ahead and bring your hands on down to the blocks or the chair, whatever you want to use for support, or the floor if you want. Coming into your pyramid pose here. Thighs lifting up. Feel that back foot fully on the floor. Feel that openness in the backs of the legs. If you're folded over that front leg, that's fine. It's fine to keep your back long and let yourself stay up higher too. Good. One more breath here. And then we'll come on back up so we can find a lunge here. Bend the front knee. Now reach that right heel directly behind your foot. And we're going to add our twist, bringing our left hand to our left hip and letting ourselves roll that left shoulder up. And see if you can stretch that left arm up. If not, don't do it. If that doesn't feel good, keep the hand on down. One more breath. And then we'll come on back down with the hand to our lunge, and we're going to step forward and come on into standing forward bent. Releasing here. If you want to hold your elbows, go for it. Let yourself find release for yourself. Let your face go. And then we'll bring our hands on up to our hips, bend our knees, and rise on up. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. Find your mountain pose again here. Equalize out between your feet. Actually, see if you can let your head just tilt a little bit to one side and then come up to center and then let it tilt the other way. And then see if when you come back into center, you can feel just more equal between your shoulders, nice and wide and open across your chest. And then we'll go ahead and release our arms on down. Shake out a little bit. Move around if you need to. And we are going to do the other side. So this time it'll be the right foot that steps forward and the left foot that steps back. Warrior one. So remember, drawing the shoulders around, square to the front of your mat. And then letting those arms be forward, turning your palms forward. And even, like I said, it's this idea almost of like you're reaching forward towards the front corners of your mat, letting your shoulders release down. And then once we rise the arms up into that wide V, they can come up more by your ears or you can keep them forward. Turn the pinkies a little more towards each other and then bring the gaze up a little bit. Feel that lift right at the base of the shoulder blades. Engaging the belly, feel equal between your feet, so equally weighted between your feet. One more breath. And then we'll lower the arms on down and bring our hands behind us, straightening the front knee out. If you need to adjust the back foot to get this left hip pointer bone around, do. And then we're going to start to come forward. Thighs engage upward. Again, you can go 2 inches and stay there. You can go farther if you choose, letting yourself come farther like parallel to the floor. I mean, if any of you want to fold all the way over that leg with your hands not on support, you're more than welcome to do that, or even release your arms off your back, or not, right? When you're ready to lower your hands down, you find the surface you want to use, chair or blocks or floor. Take your time and adjust your stance if you need to. And then again, you can fold over this leg here and bow forward, or you can keep yourself up more parallel to the floor. Good alignment here. Remember, feel the arches of the feet lifting up. One more breath. And then we're going to come up enough to bend the front knee and come into that full lunge now with the heel of the left foot reaching directly behind us. And we'll come into that twist, bringing the right hand on up to the low back, rolling your shoulder up, twisting in the middle of the back here. If you decide to add that top arm up, you can. Or you can keep your hand down on your hip. Good. One more breath. And then we'll come on back down again with the hand. And from here, we'll step forward again. Come on into your Uttanasana, your standing forward bend. And walk a little bit. And when you walk in the forward bend, lift the heel of the foot of the knee that's bent. So you're actually pressing into, releasing your toes there, the joints, letting yourself feel the ball of the foot on the floor. Keep walking and let yourself enjoy that feeling of moving through the feet. And then come on back. Let both your knees soften a little bit. Bring yourself into your breath wherever you feel like you want to go with support for your hands. And then we'll release our hands to our hips. We're going to bend our knees and rise straight on up to standing. We'll inhale the arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Finding your mountain pose again. If you need to sway around a little bit, sway around a little bit. If it feels good to shift around a little bit, to really find that sense of being centered between your feet. Feeling your tailbone reaching down between your heels. See if you can let yourself even your breaths out. And then we'll release our arms on down beside us. Shake out a bit again. Good. And we're going to come into Warrior Two this time. So, again, if you have your chair there, you might want to turn it this way with the back of the chair facing you and use it for support if you need. Stepping your right foot back, left foot forward. Line up your heels. Line up the front knee. So when you bend it, you can really look down and tell it's not going inward over your big toe. It's coming out over the center of your foot here. And then let's bring our arms up overhead and clasp your hands and send your palms either up or maybe a little forward, depending on your shoulders. Let yourself stay aligned with that front knee as you do this. Drop the outer left hip down a little bit more. That'll get the knee a little more in line with the center of the foot. And then we're going to release the hands right down to Warrior Two arms. Start to turn your head as the arms come down so that you can look right out over the top of that left hand. Reaching out through the fingertips. Really enjoy the softness in the tops of the shoulders. Feet pressing gently away from each other. Good. We'll bring our hands down from here. We're going to straighten that left knee out and turn our feet more parallel at first. And then bring our arms out a little higher than our shoulders into a little five-pointed star. So reaching up through the crown of the head, reaching out through your fingertips here now. Let yourself feel as broad as you can, easy in the shoulders, but reaching out through your extremities here. Tailbone drops down. Good. And then from here, we're going to bring our hands on down, bend the knees, and come forward into a wide-legged forward bend. If you need your blocks, grab your blocks so that they can be out there in front of you if you know it's better for you to have a long back. And then once you get yourself to hands where you like, walk on over towards the right. Doesn't matter if you get all the way to the foot or not. See if you can then bring your right hand on up to your right hip. Take your time. Take a couple of breaths there. And then come on down. We're going to walk back through center and over to the left. Again, you can just shift your blocks. You don't have to go all the way to the foot. See if you can put your left hand up on your left hip there. Stay for a couple of breaths. And then we'll come on down. We're going to walk the hands on back into center. And then go ahead and bend a knee at a time. Let yourself ease your way through to your inner thighs just by letting yourself release a little bit, bending one knee at a time. And then to come and be in the pose with your breath, you decide if you want to grab some blocks to put your hands or your forearms or your head on. Maybe you feel fine just to let your hands walk back towards between your feet. You might even want to hold your ankles. Just enjoy now, feeling the ribs expanding on your inhales. One more nice, full, deep breath. And now, we're going to walk ourselves back out with our hands. But before you rise up, see if you can turn your heels in a little bit so your feet are turned out. And you might want to get the feet a little closer together because we're going to bend our knees, bring our hands to our thighs, and rise on up and just stay in a little goddess for a breath. Bring your arms out, bend your elbows to 90 degrees, spread your fingers wide. Let yourself feel your tailbone dropping down, opening up the hips a little more there. Good. And then we'll release to come on into longer legs, and we're going to bring our feet on together. So let yourself take your time, however you need to. Walk around a little bit if you need. We're going to go to the other side. So take your time to bring blocks if you need them. We're going to step that right foot forward and come into Warrior Two. So the left foot is about parallel to the back edge of your mat, or heel can go back a little farther. Get yourself aligned with that front knee. Really make sure. So the issue is sometimes when you start bringing arms up and doing things, you forget and the knee tracks inward. Try to really feel that release downward of your outer right hip. And then we'll bring the arms up overhead, clasp the hands, see if you can press up into the heels of the hands. They can be a little forward, remember. Depends on your shoulders. Feel the feet equal in the floor. Feel the sense of length through both sides of the body. And then as we release the hands and start to float them down and start to look out over the top of that right hand, we're reaching out equally through both sets of fingertips. Feet are pressing gently away from each other. Really feeling that in your hips, in your belly, your low back. Nice. We're going to bring the hands on down. We're going to turn our feet more parallel. And we're going to come on forward into that wide-legged forward bend. So this time, once you get your hands to a surface of whatever blocks or floor, go ahead and bend your knee again, one at a time. Let yourself bend a knee at a time. Good. And then come on back into center, and let's have our hands, right, so that they're to the midline in front of us where we have a long back, whether they're on a block or the floor or blocks, right? And then bring your right hand on up to your right hip and start to twist here, drawing that right shoulder up. Hand can be right there on your low back if possible, just to see that you're very level here in your hips. And then we'll come on back down with the hand. We're going to switch and go to the other side, left hand up. Again, whether you twist or, let yourself keep your hand on your hip and not roll up so much with that shoulder. That twist is up to you. It affects the shoulders here. And then we'll come on back down into center. Take your time. Bend both your knees now. Let yourself, if you want, keep your hands on blocks, or if you want to walk your hands back more to between your feet, do. And then ease your way now into your breaths. If you want to come into straighter legs, do. If it feels good to keep your knees bent, do. And see if you can let yourself really fully find both your inhales and your exhales. Feeling the rib cage expand in all directions as you inhale. And then when you exhale, feeling the ribs kind of contract back in. Good. One more nice, full, deep breath. And then from here, we'll walk our hands back out. We're going to rise up from here, just the way, well, you can bring your feet closer together if you need, but we're going to come on straight on up from there. And then bring our feet on together. And again, move around a little bit. Move through your feet if you need to, your ankles. We're going to bring our mats into a wall from here. So you two are there, so you're here, Helen, and you guys are all good. So if we're going to do a little bit of a half moon pose today. So if, and we have room here in the studio, the two of you can be on that wall, and you got room there, and you have room here, because I tried it. Kathy, you might need to come to that blue wall if you want, and let Margaret do that one. Well, we'll see. So if you can, find a wall. Same thing at home. If you don't have one, you can do this freestanding. You can put your hands both down on blocks. If you're at a wall, you're going to stand on the inside leg, right? And you're going to get yourself to where you feel if you're at the wall, the outside of that hip of that supporting leg touches the wall. And then the supporting hand, the same hand as foot, you're going to bring that outside hand up to your hip. Now, if you're freestanding at home, you can do this just opening up the hip. So just opening your toes away from the floor of that top leg. Or you can bring the same hand up to your hip. Now, if you're at the wall, and it's pretty nice sometimes just to stretch that top arm up and let yourself just enjoy feeling that length through the spine here. So take your time. If it doesn't feel good, don't do it. Don't even open the hip. You can stay with the toes facing down, be in a warrior 3 instead of that opening through the hip here. One more breath. And then we're going to switch legs, so you got to get up out of it somehow, and that's up to you. Maybe just turning to face the floor, bringing your feet down, and then getting up to turn around and go to the other side. So if you, again, are by a wall, that inside leg supports you. The outside leg lifts up. You can keep your toes facing down and be perfectly happy there. Or you can start to draw the toes away from the floor, and you're supported there by the outer hip of the leg you're standing on. And then if you want, you can lift that top arm up and come into your half moon, feeling supported by the wall. Again, if your hips don't do this, don't do it. Just pay attention to how you feel. Let yourself enjoy wherever you can be there. Good. And then when we're ready, we'll release on down. And just turn your back to the wall if you can. Walk your feet out just a little bit, maybe 18 inches away from the wall to maybe 2 feet. And then bend your knees a little bit. And let yourself just release back. And let the wall support you. Feel your quads here. Imagine your inner thighs melting their way behind you. If you want a little added fun, you can grab a block and squeeze the block squeeze into the block with your legs. Feel your inner thighs. Imagine you're feeding the block downward. Right? It's like you're imagining that block is heading down towards the ground. There's a lot of engagement. You can turn your palms out, press the backs of your hands into the wall. And if you're like, well, I don't know that my legs want to do any more of this, stop whenever you want. Very strengthening all around the knees and the thighs. Good. And then we're going to release. Come on back up. And we're going to make our way down onto the floor and go onto our bellies. So take your time. Let yourself come on down. And just release there. Let your head lay on your hands stacked up, palms facing down. Breathe into your low back. Good. And then let your right arm stretch towards the right front corner of your mat. Okay? Bring your left hand in so that your left hand is kind of under your shoulder a little bit. And then send your left foot out towards the left corner of your mat. So you have this kind of diagonal line from your right arm all the way down through to the outside of the left leg. So opposite arm and leg, right? And now when you inhale, rise up that right arm and that left leg. Use your left hand just a little bit to support you. It's a little bit of a back bend. Let yourself enjoy here. One more breath. And then come back down. And we're going to switch. So the left arm stretches towards the front corner of your mat. Right foot, opposite leg goes more to the right corner. You got that long diagonal line. Now when you inhale, let the left arm and the right leg rise up. And you can use that right forearm a little bit to give you some support too. But also, man, that's a lot of back work in there. And then come on down. Release your arms down alongside you. Turn your palms down towards the ground. Come onto your fingertips. So just the tips of your fingers and thumbs touch the floor, not your palms. And then when you inhale, let your head and your legs float up. Bend your elbows a little bit in your locust pose here. And then see if you can float your hands up too. So now you're just right here in your locust pose very easily. Nice. Coming down. Forearms right underneath you here now. Find a little sphinx pose with your elbows right under your shoulders. Turn your palms down towards the ground. And then clasp your hands together. Send your pinky finger out. You can decide between a half and a full forearm plank. So you can curl your toes under. You can lift up to a full forearm plank here. Elbows hug in. Heart melts down a little bit. Just make sure you're not dropping into your belly. Or you can have your knees down. Bend your knees and let yourself be on that flesh above your knees. So you find where you can be. Good. One more breath. And then we're going to come down. We're going to roll to our right side and stretch our right arm out and lay our head on it so that we're like in one long line. Now, if this does not work for your right arm, shoulder, you can adjust. You can put a blanket or a block under your head and bring your arm down, right? Kind of under you. I know it's really, you just have to be mindful. Flex through both your feet. Now feel the outside edge of your right foot pressing down into the floor. Now you can keep your left hand on the floor or put it on your left hip. We're going to lift that left leg up about 12 inches and then down. So we're going to slowly lift the left leg up, press into the outside edge of the right foot on the floor, and then lower that foot down. So just rising with that leg and lowering slowly, and rising and lowering slowly. And then go ahead and put your left hand back on the floor, bend the left knee, put the left foot up like you're going to do tree pose. So it's either below the knee on your calf, or you can put the foot up above. Let yourself imagine that you're just pressing a little bit forward with your pelvis. And you can decide if you want to keep the left hand on the floor. Maybe you want to reach the left arm overhead and clasp your hands up there overhead. Send your pointer finger out. That's up to you. You don't have to. You can keep your left hand on the floor. Just letting the hip release as best you can. If you keep pressing gently into the outside edge of that right pinky toe, it helps stabilize. One more breath there. And now release, long leg again. Parallel your feet again. So get that left foot parallel to the right. And now bend your left knee. You might be able to reach back with your left hand and get a hold of your left foot for a quad stretch. You might not. You know, it doesn't matter. Whether you get hold of the foot or not, you're going to feel a quad stretch. So you can let that knee reach directly down towards the foot of your mat, that left knee. Pull the heel in towards your buttocks, the outside of the buttocks a little bit. Then maybe you can press into the hand with your foot a little bit to feel the quad a little differently. One more breath. And then we're going to release back to a long leg. And we're going to just let ourselves roll over to the other side. So letting yourself come on over to the other side, stretching that left arm out. Letting yourself, again, get lined up. Just look at your feet for a second. Make sure you don't have your feet way forward or way back. You know, you don't want to be like a banana shape. You want to be straight. And you can decide here, bringing either right hand onto the floor or onto your hip. And then as you lift that right leg, top leg up just a few inches and then let it come down, it's really about control. So you're trying to control through the core of the body. You're not trying to make some big high leg lift. So again, if you can press into the outside edge of that left pinky toe mound there, you can like really feel some control going on as you lift and lower. So finishing the one you're on. And then from here again, you can put your right hand on the floor, bringing that right foot in like you're going to do tree pose. Maybe up above the knee, maybe down below the knee. You know, some people it might feel better to put your foot on the floor in front of your leg too. So just be mindful, letting that hip release. Whether you keep your right hand on the floor or maybe you want to rise that right arm overhead and clasp your hands up there. Send your pointer finger out. If you like that mudra, you can come into your tree pose here on your side. Opening the hip. Still pressing gently into the outside edge of that left foot. Good. And then we're going to slowly bring the leg back long. Remember, parallel the feet out again. Turn those right toes forward and then bend that right knee. And again, you can keep your right hand on the floor. Just bend the knee, flex the foot. There's your quad. If you want to reach your right hand back, you can. If you can get that foot, you can even pull the heel in towards the buttocks there, maybe a little towards the outside of the buttocks if you can. And then you can decide if you want to let yourself push into your hand with the top of the foot, feeling the quad engage there. That's up to you. One more breath. We're going to release the leg on down. We're going to roll back to our bellies this time. Come back into your Sphinx one more time with your elbows under your shoulders. Spread your fingers wide. And then bring your hands together. Now, you always clasp your hands, most people do anyway, the same thumb on top. See if you can switch. Put your other thumb on top. Interlace your fingers differently. Send your pinky finger out. And then again, you can lift up to that half forearm plank or a full forearm plank, right? Some of you might even want to bring your knees on up and lift up into a dolphin pose. That's up to you, right? You can stay in your plank. You can press down into the forearms. Elbows are hugging towards each other, whether you're up in a dolphin or in a forearm half plank or plank. And then we're going to release to come down, and we're going to come towards child's pose from here. How you do that, totally up to you. You know, if you need to stay somewhat forward and not get into that deep bend of your knees, don't do it. Stay forward. You can always use a blanket rolled up behind your knees, if that helps. Arms can stay soft overhead, or you can bring your arms back alongside your legs. But just let yourself breathe now. Full, easy breaths. Feeling the low back expand on your inhalations. Good. One more nice full breath. And then we'll let our hands come back by our knees so we can press our way up and bring our legs on around in front of us. So take your time. If you need to sit up on a blanket to be here on the floor, grab a blanket if that feels better for you. And let's all stretch our right leg out long. And either bring your left leg in so you're in that figure four, where you have yourself ankle right above or below your knee if that's better. Some of you might feel fine to go ahead and get your thighs close together and your knees close together, right, for a half cow face. So either one, you pick the one, you either let your leg be directly forward here, or you bring the foot more to the midline and then get the thighs closer together. So take your time just briefly here. We're sitting up tall. We have our left leg on top. We're going to bring our right arm up overhead, really lengthen up. And then let yourself take your left arm and bring it behind you and let it face palm outward. And here you are, really lengthened up here. And then you're going to bend that top right arm and maybe even let your hands come closer together back here behind you. That's totally up to you. You know that, whatever your shoulders let you do. Keep your gaze forward. Good. Now, if you want to lean just a little bit forward into a nice straight back forward bend, you can. It's pretty intense. Don't do it. It's really intense in the shoulders, not just the leg. And then we'll rise on back up. We're going to lower our arms on down. Inhaling here. And on the exhale, we're going to twist to our left. Bring your right hand maybe all the way to that left knee or all the way to the outside of the leg. Let yourself lengthen up as you come into your twist here. Good. One more breath. And then use your belly. Let that bring you back around into center. Shake out a little bit. We're going to switch legs. So the left leg comes long. Again, you may want to do the figure four. You might even want to be lower. Don't force anything. You may decide it feels good to bring that left leg more to the midline and then cross your thighs over your thighs. Now sit up nice and tall and bring that left arm up overhead, right? And now let the right hand come behind you. Turn the palm out. And then when you lower this top arm so that the hand comes down, maybe behind your head or your neck or your upper back, then you can decide if you want to think about the hands coming closer together or not. And then again, this coming forward, real iffy. Really gets into your shoulders. You kind of think about a forward bend more about the back of your legs and your back, but man, think about what position your shoulders in. So be mindful. And then we'll release to come on back up. And we're going to let our arms come on down. Inhaling here. And on the exhale, twisting to our right. Bring your left hand maybe to that right knee, maybe to the outside. Let it feel good to lengthen up through the crown of your head. If you're lucky, maybe you get a little pop, a little more space in the spine. Good. One more breath. And then use your belly to bring yourself on back around. Stretch your legs on out in front of you now. Shake them out a little bit. And we're going to come down onto our backs on the floor. So, yay. Coming down, bending your knees, letting your feet separate a little wider on your mat. Go ahead and let your knees come side to side. So, and you can go as far as you want with this. If it feels good to let the knees come way down, do. And if it doesn't, don't. If it feels better just to barely move the knees so you shift from the top of one hip to the other, or maybe it feels good to hang the knees on one side and get that openness through the front of the hips there. And then come on back into center. Let the feet come a little closer together. And then do a couple of little pelvic tilts. Let yourself just exhale. Feel the tailbone curling up. The low back come into the floor flat. And then when you inhale, that natural curve just easily comes back when the tailbone drops back down towards the floor. So just letting yourself really mindfully feel those deep, low pelvic tilts. And then finish off the one you're on. Come to more neutral spine. And see what happens if you bring your feet right together to touch, okay, and your knees are together, your feet are together. And then let your knees open out into a Baddha Konasana. And you start to let the soles of the feet come together. Now this, for some people, is awesome. It's a great way to do Baddha Konasana. Some people, it feels just terrible. So if it feels just terrible, don't do it. Bring your knees up. You can bring your knees into your chest and then open out, right, into your soles of the feet towards each other, Baddha Konasana. So kind of find if you have your feet on the floor and you find, well, that does not feel good. Another thing you can do is put blocks underneath your knees to support them so that you're supported and you're not just hanging up there in the air. And that way, for some people, that just makes it feel really, really good. So find the way that works for you, where you feel like your inner thighs and your hips are getting a release instead of you're tensing up against it. And just be with your breath. Feel your breath coming into your belly. Let the spine just be in its natural alignment here. You're not trying to force anything. You're not trying to push your back to the floor. You're not trying to push your knees down. Just let that release happen. Good. And then let your knees come on back up to the top, and let's bring our knees into our chest. And let the knees come easily side to side. If a happy baby pose sounds like a good idea, go right ahead and bring yourself into that happy baby. Roll around a little bit, side to side. If you feel better to stretch your legs into a little bit of a wide angle, or maybe bring your feet up in the air, start to play around a little bit. Let your body right now do whatever it feels good to do. You know, you can wiggle around, you can move your hands and your feet around. Really, just be mindful. And those of you who are here in the studio, I will start to walk around here in a second. And if you start to get ready to come into Shavasana and know that you cannot get comfortable without some support, let me bring it. So if a bolster for underneath knees, same thing at home, or if you don't have a bolster, like a rolled up blanket can be really good, or 2 blankets. Same thing underneath the back of your head. You're welcome. So if you feel like that your chin is lifting up when you lie on your back and it's shortening the back of your neck, then just doesn't have, not like a pillow, not a thick pillow, but just a fold or 2 of a blanket can be really nice. So take your time, let yourself just start to feel your arms and your legs releasing to a place where you're comfortable in your shoulders and your hips. And when your mind wanders off, just keep yourself coming back to your breath over and over and over again. And as the body responds to those breaths, quieting down, everything will find a little bit quieter space. Your brain, your muscles. Let yourself soften through your face, your jaw. Let your eyes release. And give yourself the gift of these few minutes. Allow yourself to completely and fully relax. easily. Start to allow your breath to come in and go out more fully and deeply. Really feeling the belly rising and falling as you inhale and exhale. Let those deeper breaths start to bring energy back to you. As you feel like moving, let your extremities lead you. Your fingers and toes, your hands and your feet. And take your time. Let your arms and legs move the way they need when you're ready. If you need to stretch, do. If you feel good to bring your knees in towards your chest, that feels better for your back. Just take your time to come back into moving gently. You know you're welcome to stay on your back or roll onto either side into a soft fetal position. If you can use your arm as a pillow when you're there, you can maybe release for a couple more breaths, just giving yourself a little time to adjust. And when you do feel okay to rise up to sitting, just get comfortable in the way that you're sitting, comfortable in your hips, and being mindful about finding that sense of reaching up through the top of your head, letting your hands rest where it feels comfortable for your shoulders. And then just let your eyes be closed gently as you come back to your breaths, in and out. And on your next exhale, bring your hands gently to meet there in front of your chest, in front of your heart. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste. Happy Monday, everybody. Happy New Week.